Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of FinTech Ki Baat Dil Se. Today we have with us Dr. Jasmine Gupta, who's the founder of Lakshmi Neobank, which is India's first neobank for women. Before this, Dr. Jasmine has been a national head for Equitas Bank's digital banking, and before that, she has been a banker throughout. So, Dr. Jasmine, it's a pleasure to have you here today on the podcast and talk to us about neobanking and how you're addressing the entire financial ecosystem and how you're bringing it to the women of India. Would quickly love to hear about a bit more about you and then essentially about Lakshmi and what you're planning to build up. Right?
Hey, thanks, Shreyas. So yes, I am co-founder and CEO of Lakshmi right now, and I started my journey into fintech I think, 4 5 months back. It's been an amazing journey, and I think we have very powerful ambitions.
Mhm.
Especially the entire proposition that Lakshmi brings to the table is very unique, and we are very confident that it will change the entire financial space for women. Because Lakshmi, while we whenever we write LXME, many
Mhm.
times people pronounce it as LXME. What is this? I said, no, you pronounce it as Lakshmi. It's a very Gen Z way of writing Lakshmi, but it has a very strong connection to the goddess of wealth. And the reason why we have this name, Shreyas, is because, while we have Lakshmi as a goddess of wealth, the
Mhm.
relationship between women and wealth in India specifically has remained very distant all these years. And this is the and this is the gap that Lakshmi wants to bridge and, come out with its own innovative platform through which
Mhm.
women can be included in the entire financial space of the Indian market. So that's
Okay.
the overall vision of Lakshmi, and we are building India's first neobank for women, by women, of women, and it is going to be a single platform where we have banking tech, lending tech, wealth tech, payments tech, all integrated into one,
Wow.
and it will be a holistic solution for the women so that they don't have to go anywhere outside Lakshmi. It is one stop shop for them. So
Mhm.
while I'll discuss more about Lakshmi in detail and what more we are doing with Lakshmi, I think, yes, of course, a brief introduction about me, how I landed up here. So yes, I have been a career banker throughout Shreyas, and I started with HDFC Bank, then moved to Kotak Mahindra Bank, and then I was heading neo banking with Equitas Bank. So
Mhm.
that's been my 18 20 years of journey into the banking space. And of course, as we know, banking also has evolved over the years, and we've become more and more digital. So while I was heading neobanking in Equitas, I launched two neobanks. One was NeoX, which is the fastest growing neobank in the country today.
Yes.
And I think that was the first neobank that I also launched. And I think we had we saw tremendous success. I think 1 million accounts in 9 months. It's
Mhm.
a world record. It's not even an Indian record.
And
Uh,
I think I was probably one of the first people to download the app when I heard about it.
very good. Yeah. I think, and the customer feedback also that we've received is amazing. And I think this happened all during the time of the pandemic, where
Mhm.
digital had become very important in the lives of people. Everything they were trying to do digital. And I think that is the time when neobanking actually, we saw launch of NeoX, Frio. Frio is another neobank which I launched while I was heading neobanking in Equitas. And of course, it's a very different concept. While
Mhm.
NeoX is for millennials and the salaried class segment of the
Mhm.
country, Frio is going to be focused. It's going to be a credit-backed
Mhm.
bank, which is offering savings, but the whole purpose is to enable credit and small ticket loans to the consumers. And Lakshmi,
Mhm.
I think it is a different proposition altogether. It is very different from a NeoX. It is very different from a Frio. Lakshmi is a neobank for women, as I mentioned earlier, and the entire proposition is also built around the same theme. So I think so. I'll dwell now more into detail about what Lakshmi is doing currently,
Sure,
and
sure. So just
I think
before that, a couple of comments and observations that I had. Lakshmi indeed is a fitting name, right? But ironically, as in you pointed out, right, in the Indian culture, women are perceived as the Lakshmi of the house, right? बोलते हैं ना घर की लक्ष्मी है, that kind of thing. But ironically, that is essentially the demographic that is the highest gap between the wealth and themselves, as you correctly mentioned. So I think the name is perfectly fitting. As far as I think neobanking is concerned, I think a lot of neobanks did come up, did try, but what is something that really unique about Lakshmi, I think, is probably one of the first neobanks that I have observed is specifically focused and laser focused on one demographic, and probably it's hitting a lot of right problem statements that I personally also have seen in my life, right? And one thing that I really wanted to bring up when you spoke about Neo, right? So pandemic was probably the perfect time to actually launch a product like that because the reason I'll tell you my personal anecdote on why I actually downloaded Neo, right? I already had a bank account, I already had a salary account. I got married in January recently, and I downloaded Neo almost 8 months before that because I wanted a separate account to manage it. But because there was actually not possible for me to go to a branch and open it, I just searched up instant savings account or a Neo bank account. Neo was probably one of the first that popped up in the organic search results. I just clicked on it and downloaded, and in almost 15 minutes, I had an account that I could use to manage my expenses separately, so that I could track it in that way. So yeah, I mean, perfect timing for all of that. Yeah, sorry, over to you. I just kind of got off a bit of tangent over there,
no,
but
no, I
yeah.
think right, and I think while the shortest possible time of opening a NeoX account is 3 minutes. So I think that's a good industry standard, and I think this is something that we never knew will happen.
Right,
I
right,
think, video KYC changed the game altogether
definitely.
because while we had the Aadhaar KYC and we had the PAN verification, I think this in-person verification is a very strong requirement from RBI, and
Mm-hmm.
and this video KYC was one innovation I think which very beautifully bridged that gap. So I think, of course, we are looking forward for more innovations in this space, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so coming to Lakshmi, so Lakshmi started as a Facebook community.
Okay.
Of course, now we have an Instagram community, we have Twitter community, and of course, it has we have a community on the app itself, and it has impacted more than 1 lakh women so far.
Wow.
Right now, the community is a very strong bonding that the women have because that is one safe place where they feel they can ask questions related to money. They can learn about money. And I think this learning about money is very important when it comes to women
Mm-hmm.
because while we look at the data that says that 27% of the adults only are financially literate, I think women, if we take into consideration women, the percentage is going to be much lower because they've never taken charge of money. Many a times we have seen even successful women. They may be at topmost positions in a pharma industry or in a communications or a telecommunications industry. But when it comes to managing their money, they look forward to their father or their husband, brother to take charge and take the lead.
Right.
So we wanted to make women financially literate, and hence this community is a space where we conduct a lot of financial boot camps. We conduct a lot of workshops. We offer gamified learning, like learning finance through a Housey, learning finance through Wordle, which makes it very interesting for women to come on the app again and again, learn something new again and again. And every woman comes with her own questions. Every situation is different. A housewife may have something else, a salaried may have some other
Right.
questions. Yeah, right. So they, and many a times they're not confident, but this is one safe space where they feel, okay, I can ask whatever I want to. And we have money coaches who
Mm-hmm.
actually answer their questions and help them on their money journey. Now, at this point in time, we have an MVP, which is an investment platform where we offer curated portfolios. Now, these are mutual fund portfolios made very easy for women. Now,
Mm.
even when it comes to mutual funds, forget stocks and equities. I think that's a very different whole world of investment that women, of course, have to learn. And I think most of the time that's why they prefer to invest in a fixed deposit
Right.
or they prefer to invest in gold. In fact, we did a survey
Mm-hmm.
this year, early this year, to understand the investment trends
Mm-hmm.
of women and to understand their money behavior.
Right.
So this survey actually told us that most of the women invest, in fact, 80-85% of the women who invest prefer to invest into fixed deposit, gold, PPF. These are their favorite because they are risk averse and
Right.
they don't want to put their money into something that they don't understand. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
this is one thing that we observed. And another very specific observation that came out, Shreyas, is that 75% of the women save less than 20% of their income. Now we say the golden rule of budgeting is 50-30-20, right?
Mm-hmm.
50% spend on your needs, 30% spend on your wants, and 20% you need to save. Yeah, but 75% of the women not even saving 20% was a real shocker. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I think, and there are many factors. It's not just about not knowing how to manage money. I think there are very specific socio-economic factors as well.
Right.
Many women, we see the gender pay gap, which which is here to stay, and it's taking a very long time to change. Also, women take
Right.
a lot of breaks. They take a break in their career for marriage, for children, for a number of reasons, for taking care of elders. So I think when they take all these breaks, they fall behind on their, and the gender pay gap tends to increase. Yeah, so these
Mm-hmm.
are, of course, the reasons. Of course, a lot of other reasons that go behind why women behave the way they behave. But then I think there are a lot of things that we can do. And hence, I think Lakshmi is a great initiative wherein we are trying to make women very confident about money. Come on the community, ask questions, learn, and then start your investment journey with something as small as 100 rupees. So we have curated portfolios, and again, the investing is made so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Or 100 mutual fund schemes, Shreyas, anyone can get lost. No
Right.
one will understand where to invest, which scheme is best for me. And let alone women who don't even get into money conversations. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you would have seen that whenever women meet four women sitting in a coffee shop, the last conversation that they will ever have is, okay, where are you investing?
Right.
Everything related to money. It's more to do with all the other topics but money, right? So that's going to take some time to change. Having said that, the portfolios, we have made it very simple. So for example, if a woman has a goal of child education,
Mm-hmm.
then she just simply needs to go and invest in the child education fund, either through an SIP or a lump sum. She did not bother about whether that portfolio is comprising of an SBI scheme or a Franklin Templeton scheme or a Reliance scheme. What is there behind it? She just needs to put in her money for that specific goal, and that portfolio will give her the return that she needs over a period of time. So we also provide calculators so that they can calculate, see how much they need to save, how much they need to invest, and how much they need to plan. Similarly, we
Mm-hmm.
have retirement portfolio, tax planning portfolio. I think the various portfolios make it very easy for women to start their investment journey and keep building on that.
Understood. No, I think probably something that really stood out to me right away is that you have an established community of over 1 lakh women. And one of the most difficult things that I have seen when someone goes out to build a startup or a community, it's actually getting connected to the community or actually building and engaging the community over a longer period of time. That's probably the toughest part. And that's usually where people get stuck trying to figure out a GTM, trying to burn cash to marketing and all of that. But I mean, I would want to understand like 1 lakh women, like wow, that's a huge number. How did you kind of get that kind of community behind Lakshmi before even launching the app, or like you said, right? You already had the community before you started the app. So like,
Yes.
how
So I think the app only made it easier and faster for us to grow. So
mm-hmm.
right now, the Facebook community is some 30,000 women. Of
Wow.
course, the app obviously accelerated it. And to
Mm-hmm.
further accelerate it, I think this is nothing, Shreyas, what we have done so far. We want to impact 20 million women in next 3 to 5 years. So that's our ambition. And why also, I'll tell you. If you look at the Indian market, 670 million women, the entire 50% of the country's population is women. It's a big market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we take into consideration women in the age group of 25 to 45,
Right.
and if we focus on the tier 1, tier 2 segments alone, we have almost 60 million women who are digitally active. When I say digitally active, means they are doing some or the other kind of digital payments. They are either buying groceries on Big Basket, or maybe they are buying something on Mintra, but they are doing something digitally. That means they know how to operate apps. They know they have a smartphone. So
Mm-hmm.
out of that 60 million women, and I'm sure that number is going to grow as we grow digitally as a country. So I think our aim is to impact 20 million women through Lakshmi. And as you rightly said, holding on to a community is very difficult, is not easy. And hence, we want to expand it and make it a one-shop stop for women,
Mm-hmm.
wherein we also offer savings account. We also offer their own co-branded Lakshmi debit card. We also offer, along with the curated portfolios that we have, we also offer personal loans, or we also offer loans for them to start their own business. So these are the products that we are building on the platform. The reason why we are building on the platform is because we want that they should feel that this is their bank. Lakshmi is their bank, and there is a space, a very safe space where they can do all I think all activities related to money on one space. And I think that is something it does not exist in the market. See, we
Agreed.
have seen a lot of platforms which
Mm-hmm.
are, a lot of platforms where you see the penetration of women is just 10%, not more than 10 to 15%.
True.
And the reason why the women customers on most of these ubiquitous platforms are is very low is because they don't feel comfortable on these generic platforms. they
Mm-hmm.
they want something which is different, which is specifically for them. And hence we have all the products which are, women specific, so that it makes it easy for them. Having said that, it's not just women investing or saving for themselves. It
Mm-hmm.
is, we say that uh, the first uh, step towards family financial planning and
Future goal.
family investments actually is
Yes.
something that a woman can take.
Right.
Right. So if a woman is educated, financially educated, she is going to not just manage her finances, she is also going to ensure that her family finances are managed. And it doesn't matter whether she's earning or a housewife, it doesn't matter salaried or self employed. I think
Mm-hmm.
they can definitely take charge of their own money, their family's money, and actually, get that financial discipline in their children right at the very beginning and ensure that they grow up to be very financial savvy.
But definitely, definitely, a lot of valid points there. And I kind of completely agree, right? There was also a campaign run earlier that said, right, teach a man and he'll advance himself, but teach a woman and she'll basically advance the entire
To
country.
educate the entire family. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that I think I completely resonate with that as well, and I've seen it personally in my family as well. To be honest, uh, what I really am curious about, for all the entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, I mean, all of them are trying to build a community. So, would want to understand from you, how did you actually start off and build such a huge community of 30,000 members?
I think, see, when we started, of course, Preeti was the one who actually initiated the community, and that's how it started.
Mm-hmm.
So, the best thing about growing this community is that it has grown organically, and it has grown through word of mouth.
Okay.
And of course, we have evangelists within the community who
Mhm.
actually spread the word about, okay, this is a nice community. The name of the community is Being Lakshmi. Why don't you join the community? Here you can learn a lot about finance. So
Being
I think
Lakshmi, right? Okay.
Being Lakshmi, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's how the community started. Okay. And I think, as you rightly mentioned, engagement is very, very critical, because
Mhm.
once you have a customer acquired, to keep that customer engaged for a very long time is, of course, a challenge. And hence, it is important that we keep on doing a lot of activities where they are involved, where they feel safe, where they can participate. And hence, we do a lot of continuous basis. I think on Lakshmi, we have a continuous, lot of content related to finance, which is shared on the community. Then we
Mhm.
also have a lot of games, as I mentioned, to keep
Yes,
the
yes.
community engaged. Now we also have plans to convert community members into money coaches, wherein we have a certification program.
Mhm.
We certify women, we make them money coaches so that they again become advisors and start coaching other women on the community. It just helps grow the community in an exponential way, because every member then becomes your advocate. Every member is bringing in more members, and every member is taking up the responsibility of making other members financially educated,
Right, right.
which means we are also coming out with our micro learning courses. So we will have our own Lakshmi certification courses for all the women to, take and become certified. And of course, then, they can take up the metal of training other women as well.
Awesome. I think this is really genius. I mean, creating a community and bringing a sense of ownership amongst the members that they are creating an impact automatically, grows the community organically through word of mouth because there is a sense of purpose. So I think this is a brilliant step to grow the community. Having said that, I would want to take a step back here and ask you about what made you actually leave. Like you were the national head in Equitas Bank for digital banking, right? And you were leading like a very great and successful career. So what made you kind of say कि यार बस हो गया अभी, like I want to now do something of my own and like stop working for the man and start building something of my own and create an impact. Like what was the trigger or what was the inspiration to start building Lakshmi?
Okay. So I never thought कि ये बहुत हो गया, because I don't know, because banking has been very close to my heart, and it was something that I enjoyed doing all my years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but uh, this entire I have a very strong passion for doing something for women now. And I'll tell you, this was way back in 2018. I had given a
Mm-hmm.
TEDx talk.
Okay.
The name of the talk was how do you live your legacy? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, live, not leave behind, but how do you live your legacy,
Okay.
right? So there I had spoken a lot about what all activities I was already doing for women,
Mm-hmm.
for financial literacy of women. And I think it has got to do with my story as well, because, of course, I am financially independent, but I had my struggles, and I had my, the entire journey where I realized that financial independence for women is extremely, extremely important. And that's why I have chosen to be financially free all my life. And
Mm-hmm.
hence, it was very close to my heart that I ensure that other women also get the same opportunities that I get.
Right.
And that's why it was a TEDx talk where I talked about the financial literacy activities that we were doing, also a lot of economic development activities that I was already doing. I'm also the national president for Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and
Wow.
Industry for financial inclusion. So
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot of activities for women as well. So this all of these things I was doing, Shreyas, while I was into my banking career.
Got it.
And somewhere down the line, I connected with Preeti, and I was like, we both want to do the same thing. And now that neobanking is taking, full speed, I think the next 5-10 years are going to be the game changer in the Indian industry as far as this space is concerned, the entire neobanking and fintech space is concerned. And
Hmm.
hence, I felt that this is the right time for me to jump and make an impact. Because yes, I can continue doing all the activities that I was doing for women as a side hustle. I could do continue doing that, but somewhere down the line, I felt that it's always good if it merges, your side hustle merges with your mainstream profession. Then I think your entire focus you can put into your passion,
True.
and you can make a difference. And I think that that is most important. At the end of the day, of course, we work for money, but then the impact that we make in the lives of people is what gives us all a great satisfaction. So
Agreed.
that's how I jumped on the other side, and I think it's been a great journey. And of course, we are building some amazing things on Lakshmi Round.
Awesome, awesome. So I feel like this has been long time brewing, and since you are already working a lot on women empowerment, financial literacy creation, and that sort of stuff, and you are into banking, this turned out to be a natural amalgamation of both of them, and Lakshmi was born. Like awesome, great, great. So moving forward, I would want to understand, like when you started Lakshmi, I think one of the major problem statements that you saw was that you wanted to bring financial services to women and help them make educated decisions of their own money or handle their own financials, right? So, what was the disequilibrium that you actually observed in the country or on a global scale, whatever statistics that you've seen, when you compare financial services consumed by men versus women, and to the extent if we have that what do you say micro level data, would also want to understand for each of the financial sectors, right? Let's say, for example, investment ho gaya, lending ho gaya, accounts. I mean, accounts would probably be still a part of investments, but yeah, accounts and then investments and lending kind of a thing. Like, so, what was the demographic disequilibrium that you saw? Like, a certain percentage of men were investing, but women were not, and like probably the growth on that as well. Like, if you could throw some light on those.
So I think the survey that we did with Access Money India, Access My India in March 22,
Hmm.
we realized that 92% of the women are not at all investing. We also realized that 73 to 76% of the women said we want something which is an exclusive platform for women. So I think we realized that there is definitely a need.
Hmm.
See, as far as account ownership is concerned, I think Jandan made a lot of difference. So, of course, the number of accounts that women hold that number has increased over the last 5 years. And I think maybe 65% of the women do hold bank accounts.
Hmm.
Now, holding a bank account does not mean you are financially included. There's a big difference.
Right,
You
right.
are, and most of these accounts which got opened are also lying dormant. I'm sure you have seen the data. In fact, World Bank's latest Findex, the global Findex data, which was released in 2021.
Hmm.
So, if you compare the last report to the 2021 report of the World Bank Global Findex, is that what they call, and it's a global database of financial inclusion the world over, right? So they take out this report every 4 years,
Okay.
and this report again brought out the fact that yes, there is an impact through Jandan, but the real impact in terms of letter and spirit is still yet to come, because a
Hmm.
person is financially included not just by holding a bank account, but only when has access to credit, has access to insurance, has access to payment possibilities. Because if you have to walk 5 kilometers to get a transaction done, you are not financially included, you are not even going to use that account, right?
True, true.
So, how close by you can get your financial services? I think all of that is going to make a difference. How easy it is going to be to use the financial do it yourself products
Hmm.
for the last mile. I think that is where the real impact is going to come. Also, what we realized through the survey is 49% of the women don't know where their investments are. So,
Okay.
sometimes investments are done by
Mhm.
someone else for them,
Mhm.
but they are not even aware. They said, हाँ होता है, but we don't know. कहाँ है, what is it, we don't know. So I think that was also a gap where we observed that, it's important for them to take charge. Also, one very, very specific thing, Shreyas, has come up during the pandemic.
Mhm.
I mean, pandemic, we all saw what has happened. So
Right.
many husbands lost their lives, and women were clueless as to where the money is lying, or
Mhm.
how do they get started, how do they manage their money. They were clueless. And even after that, the survey was done after COVID, we realized that 56% of the women don't have health insurance. I mean,
Oh.
after a pandemic, to
Mhm.
see something wherein the importance of insurance is still, a lot of work needs to be done there as well. So
Mhm.
I think one thing we realized is, yes, women need to take charge of their money, because when the key earning member or the key financial management person of the house is lost, they get lost. One thing which came out very, very clearly.
Mhm.
So I think even on insurance front, we have seen that there's a big gap.
Right.
So I think across the plethora of financial products, we realize that, credit access, 78% of the women don't have credit access. We have seen the success of microfinance. It is based on only the joint lending group scheme, peer-to-peer lending for women. And that is what has made it very successful. And women are very, very good customers. They pay their EMIs in time. They
Right.
they hardly do frauds. So women are the best customers, and I think the success of microfinance that we see in the country tells us a lot about the behavior of women as consumers,
True.
right? But I think uh, a lot needs to be done as far as making micro lending space also digital, because it is still a physical model where the RM has to go to the last mile, do those relationship meetings, collect EMIs on a weekly basis, and it's all physical. While right now I have seen a transition to it becoming digital, where we equip the RMs with, a tab where you do all your transactions on the tab. I think there's a long way for micro loans to become fully digital. Yeah, so there I think we've seen gap across credit, across bank accounts, across insurance investments, and I think that's why we feel that, there is a need for a one-stop solution. Yeah, because otherwise, I think for women it will be very difficult to understand this entire financial space.
No, definitely. I completely agree with you. A couple of points that resonated with me, and what I would like to add is when you spoke about women being, really a good credit customer, right? So I think this also stems from the fact that if you look back at what Grameen Bank was doing when it started funding women entrepreneurs, and I think that model was widely replicated by a lot of other companies in what do you say, a lot of developing or underdeveloped countries to start funding the women entrepreneurs rather than the men who are taking personal loans. And that actually had a very, very low NPA or even zero NPAs. And most of the time, even when the payments were deferred, ultimately they were able to recover the payments compared to when it was loans were given to men. So, I mean, this definitely speaks volumes on the sincerity as well as the lack of or the I wouldn't say complete lack, but I would say the lesser amount of frauds that are coming from this specific demographic versus compared to the demographic of from the other side, right? On the other side of the gender divide. But do you think this would also require, like when you specifically look at with respect to Lakshmi, would you also be addressing the area wherein you are enabling micro entrepreneurs or even at one point do you see yourself upskilling and then enabling the micro entrepreneurs, like do you see going just even outside the financial ecosystem and actually helping them upskill on a business and then fund that business so that they can grow? Do you see Lakshmi going that way?
Yes, definitely. So that would be on the long term.
Hmm.
Uh, yes, we want to introduce a POS model for insurance as well, wherein we make women, the insurance advisors, advisors, and then we make them take insurance further amongst their peer groups, and of course that also makes them earn income. So we have also seen cases wherein housewives, they have 2 to 3 hours with them in the afternoon wherein they want to use it productivity for earning some income. So we have come across many such opportunities, and we want to do a lot of activities to give earning opportunity to women as well. At the same time, while we are doing personal loans for women, we also want to do business loans for women entrepreneurs. And I think women entrepreneurs have also got very, very specific needs. So that's, of course, a different proposition altogether. So while Lakshmi will start with a consumer app, I think obviously the mega plan will be to get onto the merchant side of the product offerings as well as we progress. So while it will be a step-by-step process, Shreyas, because we can't do everything at the same time. But yes,
Definitely.
that's where we will definitely want to go, where we offer the merchant banking services also to the women entrepreneurs to enable them to run their businesses smoothly. Yeah, so that's also on the map as we progress. And I think there's a lot of scope of innovation in these products.
Right.
Like, for example, a very small example of a debit card. What different would a woman need in a debit card is, say, for example, if you give her road assistance, if she is stuck, if she is driving on the highway and she is stuck, she has some requirement. That road assistant feature that comes on the debit card is what women will want. Maybe, so there are many specific features that you can keep adding and innovating on the products that are very, very women specific. And that makes it very attractive. Now, in women savings account, where it is bundled with a health insurance, or if it is bundled with a health checkup plan, because women prioritize family over everything. Their health comes last. So where we are saying, okay, your savings account, you get a free health checkup, you get a bundle of health insurance, you get locker discounts, you get road assistance. These are the features that women want and appreciate because these are very specific to their needs. Right. So I think there's a lot of scope of innovation as far as all our financial products are concerned, wherein we can make the products also very, I had written an article in Banking Frontiers. I said it's time to, that the gender agnostic approach in financial products is changed. Because what applies to the whole world may not necessarily apply to a particular segment like women.
Very true, very true. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Having said that, I just wanted to understand, like when you are looking at a demographic that is so huge, right? You're looking from, let's say, tier 1 to tier 5. So what kind of distribution approach would you essentially take that makes basically, it's easier for you to distribute it across the, let's say, from tier 1 areas to tier 5 areas, because everyone will have a different need. The education demographic will be different. The amount of tech savvy people that you'll find at different levels would be different. So how are you addressing that? It would be interesting to understand.
Yeah, so I think our approach is like 80% digital and 20% physical is what is going to be our approach. And of course, it's going to be step by step, wherein we target the tier 1 to tier 3 in the first go. Tier 1 also, Shreyas, is very important because, as I already mentioned, women in tier 1 are also financially excluded. So that's not a segment that we want to ignore, definitely not. So tier 1 is important for us. Tier 1 to tier 3, I think we can grow digitally because that's where we have observed that at least there is one smartphone in the family.
Right.
So that's where we can reach digitally. And of course, then the next levels will be through a lot of physical interventions as well. So I think partnerships, alliances, like partnering with there are a lot of women organizations, a lot of women organizations that do a lot of things. So these are important strategic alliances for us, which we are looking forward to for reaching the last mile. And of course, as far as products are concerned, I think right now we are a mobile first company. We have all the products on a smartphone, but as technology evolves, I think more and more products on the feature phone, I think we should be able to leverage that technology as well and see how we can get into the tier 4, tier 5 and penetrate deeper.
Right, right. Sounds super interesting. I think this reminds me. There's a small personal anecdote that I have here. So I think a few years back, I was actually I was doing a survey for an organization in a tier 4, tier 5 kind of an environment. The organization essentially was working with MNC in a CSR format, enabling and empowering women in these areas to become entrepreneurs and support the families. And basically, I was tasked with identifying, like creating a model that would help these women essentially become those digital entrepreneurs, because they wanted to set up a facility that wouldn't be labor intensive, wouldn't be something that would be dependent on anyone else. It could be run from a phone, and it could be very basically digital friendly, right? Because these areas were I wouldn't call it let's say completely rural areas. These were like, even though these were villages with 1,000 or 1,500, 2,000 population, but these were in areas that were near urban areas. So they had a good network penetration, not completely isolated from civilization kind of a thing. So what I really saw over here, and the what essentially we ended up doing is we ended up setting up what do you say, digital centers, which were essentially something that they could run from their own house. As a part of this CSR, these women were given laptops or smartphones, whichever was they were comfortable with. They were trained for 15 days on how to use it, and they were then enabled. So each village had 4 to 5 such entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs, and they were enabled to first of all create financial literacy in the community, because in these areas even men are not financially literate, like a lot of men are not, and these were farming villages. So first was that, then they were enabled to open Jandan accounts, they were enabled to distribute government policies and government services, and finally, places which had schools and colleges, these women were also enabled to they were also given, what you say, Xerox machines and all of that, so that they could also earn an income from that. And these kind of centers are completely set up around these areas. Like fast forward 2 years down the line, like during pandemic, when I again got in touch with the organization, what I heard was that many of these women's husbands had lost their earning potential in COVID because of some or the other reason. They had lost their husbands or some or the other family members. But since those centers were there, they were still earning a very stable income out of it. And those villages in which these centers were active for, let's say, so a few of these centers definitely did close down, maybe because it did not work out for the entrepreneur. But I think 70% of the centers survived, and the places where the centers actually survived, what we saw is that those villages, these are villages that are at least 15-20 kilometers away from any branch or ATM. So these villages did see a lot of more financial inclusion happening organically. So first few months they had to be pushed, and there was a lot of training and all of that required. But later on, the entire ecosystem started growing organically. People began investing, because we also this company also started teaching women on basics of investing, how to open up an FD, how to invest in basic what do you say, other current savings account and all of that. So we saw the penetration increasing in these villages, and before and after number, you would say, if you consider that, ideally from a 20% people holding these kind of accounts to almost a 60% people holding accounts and having an FD. So that was the changes that we saw. And I mean, it made an impact when you talk about COVID also, right? These people are able to sustain because of these kind of an ecosystem.
Right. I think very rightly said, Shreyas. And I think if scale is added to all of these activities, I think it can have a very, very deep impact on the economy. So that's very important. I think even the business correspondent model
Right.
has actually ensured that a lot of women entrepreneurs join. So I've seen women who manage a kirana store now. They manage the micro ATM also. They can do the APS transaction also. They can, so all of these payment transactions they've learned it, and they are very enthusiastic about making money. So we have seen
Right.
some very very good entrepreneur success stories here as well. And I think that's where I think Lakshmi can add scale and actually bring in all of these women entrepreneurs as well as this entire community on the app, and add scale to whatever they are doing. And that's of course the long term goal.
Awesome. Definitely looking forward to the impact that Lakshmi will create, and would love to stay updated on it. Before we part, I want to ask you, like, if you have any tips or any do's and don'ts for all the audience listening out there who are aspiring entrepreneurs and are at a stage wherein they just want to leave their corporate career and jump into entrepreneurship.
Most of the founders that I have seen, especially on the fintech side, I've observed that they are very, very product specific.
Right.
My only advice to them is to be more customer specific, customer centric, rather than being very product centric, and have a solution oriented mindset, which actually helps you solve a particular problem statement rather than a focus on a very innovative product, but it gets stuck because it has no scalability, it has no real life usability, and of course it dies its own death. So I think as an entrepreneur you need to have very good business skills also along with product skills, because that's important, that you are able to tell the story about your product. It's important that you are able to communicate to the whole world what your product brings to the table so that people start using it and accepting it. So business skills along with product skills and a customer centric approach.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. That was really insightful, and I am sure it will help all the audiences who are on the verge of jumping into the entrepreneurship side. All right.
Thank you so much, Reyes. It was nice engaging in this conversation with you.
Pleasure having you. Pleasure having you. I learned a lot from you, and looking forward to see the impact that Lakshmi will create in the financial ecosystem.
Thank you so much.